Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is Bar 911-970. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. And this is another interesting one, but of course, I'm going to wait a couple of seconds until viewers know that I have started the broadcast so they can come into the chat room and ask questions if they want. So if you want to ask questions, all you have to do is, first of all, you have to have a Google Plus account. That's not on me. That's YouTube and Google Plus. That's a requirement. And if you go to my Google Plus page and just follow me there, it makes it a lot easier. But if you see this live event from my Google Plus page, just click on the live event. It'll open up another window, and you'll have the ability to ask questions or make a statement or anything. So I always encourage that. But I want to show a little clip of a interesting little soundbite from Hillary herself. So whether it's a slip up or whether she did it on purpose, who knows? But she, in one of her sessions, I guess, her speeches, she talks about how she's going to raise, and it shows how, I mean, they have to either be paid actors, and I've seen on both sides. I mean, there are some people that are just questionable on both sides where they show these audience members. Some of them, they have to be paid actors. I remember even on the Republican side, there was this one guy during a Trump speech. He was in the bottom right-hand corner, and he just smiled the entire time, like in a way that actors smile. Now, if you tried to smile for more than 30 seconds to the point where you're lifting up your cheekbones and exposing your top teeth, which is what actors are taught how to smile, if you do that for more than 2 minutes, your cheekbones start to hurt. This guy did it for an hour straight. So it's just funny that she actually says, and I'm going to show the clip, in one of her speeches where she's going to raise the taxes for the middle class, and the people cheer like the idiots that they are. So either they are complete morons or they're paid to be there. And they're just told to applaud no matter what she says because they obviously aren't listening to what she says. So obviously with fair use, I can only show a little bit of the clip, but there's only it's literally a 8-second soundbite, if that. So I want to show this to you so you can hear it for yourself in her own words. So let me do the screen share. And again, this is not just the soundbite, it's her, as you could see. And let me just make sure this is broadcasting. I mean, I keep telling people that, no matter who you vote for, it's not going to be what you think it is. I mean, until we get rid of a corrupt system, no one's going to be able to fix it. But obviously, the majority of people are just not going to listen to that. So, I mean, whatever. But watch. This is completely packed with people, and you can see how interested they look. But I want you to listen to what she says and watch the morons back there cheer her instead of saying, wait a minute, you're going to tax the middle class? And again, it could have been a slip up or anything, or it could have been a slip up in the sense that maybe that's the real agenda. But I'll let you see that for yourself. So get ready and turn up the volume if you have to.
We're going to write fairer rules for the middle class, and we are going to raise taxes on the middle class.
All right, so let me just play that again so you can hear this, how ridiculous this is. And we'll start it right about there.
I'm telling you right now, we're going to write fairer rules for the middle class, and we are going to raise taxes on the middle class. Trump wants to.
Okay, so that's all you have to show, and I will post a link to that original video so you could check it yourself. But in her own words, she says, we are going to tax the middle class. I guess that's pretty much what happens when you read off of cue cards and teleprompters if you're not paying attention. But what I find hysterical, whether she did that on purpose, whether it was a Freudian slip or whatever, the fact that the audience was applauding that when the middle class is what's being destroyed, raising the taxes on the middle class would not be a good thing. So even if she completely screwed up and just said the wrong thing, the fact that the idiots behind her and everybody in the audience was applauding and cheering instead of saying, well, what? Just shows how much of a play you are being presented here. So what you want to do with this is beyond me. I heard somebody say something about that, and I'm like, no, there's no way. And again, like I said, it could have been just a legitimate slip up. I blame it on the idiots that are in the audience. And unfortunately, those are the people that are going to vote. This is the majority of people in this country. They are so indoctrinated with the programming that they don't listen. The majority of Americans are not the wealthy. They're either poor or middle class. And the middle class are being destroyed with all these regulations, with Obamacare, with all of the jobs going overseas. And then she says, mistake or not, we're going to tax the middle class, and the idiots in the crowd cheer. This is what's happening to our country, and we are going to get exactly what we deserve. And like I keep saying, you have to understand how the system works because of the fact that when you mark a box that says you are a citizen of the United States is not the whole country that you think it is. That's America. That's why we have a North America and a South America. When you click the box that says you are a U.S. citizen, that means you are under the jurisdiction of the corporation known as the United States, which is located in Washington, D.C. Well, if you know anything about Washington, D.C., they have 2 delegates. That's why if you ever see, like, for example, and I'll explain what that means to people who may not be aware of this stuff. For example, I think California has approximately, let's say, and I could be wrong, it could be off, let's just even it out. Let's say they have 50 delegates, just to make it an even number. The amount doesn't matter. Now, what that means is whoever wins in that area, for whoever they're voting for, they get 50 points towards the delegates. So if there are 5 million people that vote for Hillary Clinton in California, that's only 50 points that she gets on her side. That's why they say you need 270 delegate votes to become president. Obviously, the person who has more than that is going to win, but you need at least 270. So in the District of Columbia, which is its own country, you need to learn this. If you mark a box, and you need to do it if you want to get a driver's license or any government official documents, the first thing they're going to ask you, whether it's a passport, driver's license, whatever, is, are you a U.S. citizen? Now, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So when you check the box yes, the 13th Amendment no longer qualifies for you because they didn't put a gun to your head and said, you better sign that. You did it with your own abilities. So in other words, the 13th Amendment is supposed to protect you against involuntary servitude. That is the legal definition of the word slavery. They don't put a gun to your head and say, you better check yes. They're assuming that you know the word citizen is not the word you think it is, but it actually has a legal definition that means you are under the jurisdiction of the quote-unquote United States, which is nothing more than a corporate name that is held in the basically some drawer somewhere in the District of Columbia, which is owned by the British Crown, the Bank of London. Which means every single person that registers to vote is now, because one of the first things they're going to ask you is, when you're about to vote, they're going to say, are you a U.S. citizen? They're asking you again. They're like, hey, hello, McFly, stupid, are you really what you think you are? Because I don't think you know, but we're not going to tell you, we're not going to stop you either. So when you check the box yes, you are now part of Washington, D.C., which has 2 delegate votes. So let's say of the 350 million Americans, let's say 200 million are registered voters, and they all vote for Donald Trump. So you'd think, wow, 200 million people, that's a lot of people. Well, since they mark the box that they are a U.S. citizen, and they don't understand what it means because ignorance of the law is no excuse, and they are now, by their own free will, by their own servitude, it's not involuntary because they're volunteering to do it, so the 13th Amendment can't protect them. They go under the jurisdiction of Washington, D.C., which is where the quote-unquote United States is. So that's 2 delegate votes. So if any other area votes 3 beats 2. So you have to understand how the system works. So again, I wanted to show this because I thought it was funny because, even if Hillary was 100%, just a Freudian slip, I didn't mean to say it, I was just caught in the moment, the fact that the idiots behind her applauded just shows how naive and how willfully ignorant people are. They don't listen, they're just there to applaud. You can't go on one side or the other, because as much as I like Donald Trump, and I like the fact that he's not the typical politician and he's actually calling out the mainstream media, and I've given a video just 2 days ago, you better watch. I'm telling you, I really think something might be happening. But I listen to certain things. You know, Donald Trump is all for waterboarding. You know, you forget that. Remember, waterboarding is torture. So he's saying he's perfectly fine with that. You know, he's not going to be the one waterboarded. There's a lot of different things. You got to listen. You cannot just say, oh, well, I like Donald Trump, so I'm just going to agree with every single thing he says. Or I really love Hillary. I'm going to listen to every single thing and love everything she says. Because there's a prime example of how stupid that is. So, I mean, I am not voting because I know how the system is. They're going to ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. When you mark yes, ignorance of law is no excuse. It's not their fault that you didn't study anything about legal definitions, even though I've been talking about this for years now. There is a legal definition of the word citizen. They legally defined it. And then they have the 13th Amendment, which has to do with legally defining the word slavery, which is involuntary servitude. So when you go to vote, they don't take you in a car by gunpoint. They don't say, here, you better check this or we're going to blow your head off. No, you do it voluntarily. So you're a legal slave, and the 13th Amendment doesn't protect you. You are a legal slave of the system. So because ignorance of the law is no excuse, it's not their fault that you checked the box of something you didn't really understand. That's not their fault, and they're not going to tell you because, you know, as we could see, politicians are liars and they're corrupt. So why would they tell you what you're doing? Because then it would ruin their scam, and it would ruin all the money that they make off of your ignorance. So your votes don't count. So everybody's going to go, oh, I'm going to make a difference. No, you're not. Because at the most you can get is 2 electoral votes. Because you're all connected to Washington, D.C., whether you understand it, whether you believe it or not. Law is law. So, you know, if you want to make yourself feel good because you're going to go, you know, put your vote in, well, like I said, if 200,000 people, 200 million people, 200 trillion people, if there were that many on the planet, all registered to vote and all voted for Donald Trump, well, that's 2 delegate votes. So you have to understand how the system works. Obviously, most people don't. So if you want to go there because it makes you feel good, like you think you're doing your part, that's wonderful. But again, everybody can vote for Donald Trump. That's 2 electoral votes. Now, you know, people in governments, they know about this stuff. But even, let's say, 99% of them didn't know about this. All you need is 3 people who are not voting that are U.S. citizens. They're saying they're not U.S. citizens. Obviously, somebody that's in government, they can get away with anything. So they can get away with not checking that box. So if 3 people, let's say, like I said, let's say 200 million people vote for Trump, that's 2 delegate votes. And then 3 people in the government who don't check that box, and it doesn't matter because even if they got caught doing it, they're not going to get in trouble. Let's say 3 people vote for Hillary. That's 3 versus 2. Who wins, the 200 million or the 3? Well, you'd like to think it'd be the 200 million, but it doesn't work that way. So again, I wanted to show this because it's just a joke. Not what she said, but how the audience reacts. So people, they base things on emotion. They want to think they're doing a change, like holding up a picket sign is going to do anything. Like I said, if I go up to you and just start punching you repeatedly, hold up a picket sign and say how unfair it is and see how much that helps you. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. I wanted to show this. I'll post the link once the video uploads. If you want to share it, fine. Check out my other videos if you want to. I already know how the system is corrupt. I'm going to sit back and enjoy this roller coaster fireworks show while all these things that could potentially be happening might be potentially happening. If people want to get themselves involved and get into riots and start problems and, you know, get yourself shot or thrown in jail, create more laws, you know, by all means, just have fun with the roller coaster ride. I'm going to sit back and enjoy it. And I know many other people will as well. And I know that's not the answer people want to hear, but I mean, people ask me all the time, what is it that we need to do to be free? And I keep telling people, well, you got to stop investing in a corrupt system that doesn't work. You cannot fix the system from the inside. It just doesn't work that way. You have to abandon it and start a new system, but that requires sacrifice. There's a lot of unknown that's going to happen. People like having free stuff. People like having everything done for them, even if it's not the way they like it. I mean, how many people do you know in your life are in relationships where the two people, it might be they fight all the time. It might be they just don't get along. It might be that there's an abusive relationship. But some people stick around just because it's familiar and it's easier. Oh, well, we have too much invested in this relationship. Well, then don't complain. If you choose to be in a corrupt system, and you don't want to do the very thing that it entails to make it fixed, and that's by leaving it. That's why I tell people, I mean, I have my own businesses. I am not part of the system. I don't have a bank account. The best I have is a federal credit union. I store gold and silver and put a lot of my fiat currency, instead of that paper garbage that could potentially go to zero at some point, I put it in precious metals for protection against my future. I'm doing my part, and it's a sacrifice. Most people are not willing to do that. They want to just sit back, push a couple of buttons on a computer, get the answer, and say, "Oh, well, it'll, I'll let somebody else do it." It just doesn't work that way. So that's why this system is going to continue. And if it doesn't work this time, in another 4 years, they're going to have another person that'll give you all the speeches you want to hear. You'll wave your flags. You'll go, rah, rah, rah. I really believe this time it's going to be different. And it's going to happen forever and forever until one day people get it. And the good part is, at least some people that are subscribed to my channel do get it. The people that are listening right now, they're most likely the ones that get it, because they're not sitting around looking for the next kitty cat video or reaction video or something like that. They're here trying to figure out what's going on. But the people that ask me, how do we get out of this system? Stop playing it. Plain and simple. That means you're not going to get the free stuff anymore. You're not going to have credit cards. You're going to have to restart the system. I don't know what the complete answer is, but this system is not working. And for a new system to begin, we have to exit the old system. But people don't want to do that, and that's why they give you so much free stuff. It's like Pinocchio. Or like Hansel and Gretel. Here, little boy and girl, here's that nice little candy. Come follow me into the oven. It's safe. You got to do what you think is right. So I hope you enjoyed that little clip of Hillary. If you didn't see it, when this uploads, just rewind it. I will post the link to the original video I got that from. And again, fair use allowed me just to show just a little bit of it, but there wasn't much you needed to hear. So thanks as always. I hope you guys enjoy your rest of your weekend, and stop playing their game. Get out of the system. Thanks for watching.